Right, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully got something a little bit interesting for you today. And you may or may not have seen one of these before. This is a Quasar MCB 400. Now some of you might be taking a look at this and its switches and everything else with the marine channels on it there and be thinking this can't be a UK legal CB radio. But you would be wrong. And you see there in the bottom right hand corner we have the CB2781 logo. Not that that is always a clue that the thing is legal, but we can see on the back here that it is in fact type approved under MPT 1320. Now this is a Uniden based radio, and it does indeed have the capability to act as a CB radio and also as a receive only radio on 3 channels of the marine band, so it was quite unusual in that regard. Now I can see on the front of this does look like it's gone a little bit yellow. I believe that this was more of a cream colour when these originally came out, and it's got this fire retardant issue that some of these plastics get where they go yellow. So I don't think this was quite this colour when it first came out. There's a little bit of damage on the front of the unit, which is unfortunate here, just around the edges. Not a lot I can do about that, unfortunately. That is just part of the radio. Now it does comply with MPT 1320 in that it has the 10 dB reduction there on the power, and then this switch takes you into just marine receive, which has got 3 channels, 16, 37 and 67. I will attempt to align those channels when we do the test. So let's just power it on first and see how it looks. I haven't done one of these before, but I do know from experience with the Uniden chassis that we will need to replace capacitors, the 220 and the 470 microfarad capacitors. Now I do love this microphone, look at that. That's the original microphone that would come with this radio. Now I do remember from watching TV shows and things that very often in the past, in the 60s and 70s, marine radios very often used to be white. It was a thing, I don't know why, but they did very often used to be white, and so I think this is in keeping with that. Again, this I think has been afflicted by the dreaded yellowing plastic curse. I imagine this would have been probably white or cream when it originally came out. There are ways you can rectify this. There's something they call retrobrighting, where they put peroxide bleach onto the plastics and then they dose it with some UV to get it back to its white condition again, but quite so whether that's worth doing in this case I don't know. But it's nice to see the original microphone with the unit, and we'll give that a little service as we go. So let's power it on and see how it's performing as a CB. Proper cool looking actually, isn't it? I like it. That's nifty. Okay, so we've set the switch now. We're in 4-watt mode on CB, and we'll see what it's doing. The speaker's working okay. We've got the squelch there, so that's looking good. So let's just see what kind of power we're doing. Yeah, we're doing a bang on 4 watts there. So this is looking good. And that TX needle is on the 9 squeaky microphone there, but that's looking good. I don't know if we've got any deviation. Let's just check with the President Randy and see if we can hear ourselves. Right, we've got the President Randy there. We'll just try transmitting. 1, 2, while testing. There we go, we're okay, and we'll just try a quick transmit on this to the President Randy. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, so that's good. So we're all good there on the transmit side. Right, let's see what we can do about testing the marine band on receive. Obviously we can run a signal to it from our signal generator. That's going to be the best way. But let's see how it works on CB first. Right, so there we're listening to 0.89 of a microvolt for 12 dB synad, and we'll just wind the signal generator down to see how low we can go. Pretty good actually. We are at 0.1, so we can just hear it at 0.1 of a microvolt. So that is pretty reasonable. I'm quite happy with that. I mean, we might be able to improve it a little bit, but I doubt not much. But yeah, look at it. It's like properly yellow, isn't it, in this light? but it's cool. It's proper decent. So what we'll do is we'll put the phono adapter on, because there's a separate socket for the marine band frequency. We'll find out what those are: 16, 20, 30, 27 and 67. I don't know what they are without looking them up. We'll look them up and then we'll pop those frequencies in and do a quick check. Okay, so we've got the radio into marine mode now by putting the switch into the bottom corner, and we've got channel 16 is 156,800. Channel 37 is now known as channel M1, which is kind of a marina frequency, which is 157,850, and then we've got 156,375 for channel 67. So let's just see what this is like on channel 16. We'll put the RF on and turn the squelch down. There we go. There's our signal, and that's 1 microvolt, so that's pretty good. Let's see what we're getting for 12 dB cyanide. And that's doing 1.12 microvolts for 12 dB cyanide. So let's check it on 37 and 67 to be fair, so we get an average across the three. Okay, we've got a bit of corrosion on the front here and on the back. We'll deal with that with some anti-corrosion paint. We'll go around the inside of the case and do that for Steve. This is one of Steve's radios, who contributes regularly for repairs to me here. So there's the inside of the board. Now, quite a different layout to the most unit end radios. It's a very different radio, of course. Okay, first thing that struck me after getting the lower case off, we can see here we've got the protection diode has been blown off the board somehow. It's either been cut or stripped away, so we're going to have to replace that. But other than that, it looks alright. It's a bit dirty, it's a little bit fluxy, but we shall just give it a brush down for now. But I think before I do anything, in case I forget, not that I would, but I'm going to get the protection diode back in there. We're going to have to probably bend the legs over or scrape away some of the board there to get it fitted. Right, I had a little look online. I can't find any setup schematics or setup information or a video that anybody's done aligning one of these. So what we do is, what I normally do is power it up and fiddle and see, and then what I do is I take a photo of the radio, I print off all of the little labels, and then we'll stick them on as we go. So I'll do that off camera. I'll start fiddling through it. I mean, most of it is fairly self-explanatory. You know, this is going to be VCO by the crystal, and then we've got a TX line going up to there, to the antenna, and this will be RX. All these other cans here through to that. There'll be obviously the VHF receive alignment as well somewhere, and obviously some of the pots again. We'll just have a little play around to see what they do. It's a smoker set. This is some tarnish on some of this. I'll have to clean it a little bit, but hopefully once I've gone through this, then I'll put the, as I normally do, put the label up so people can see, so at least it's gone on record as what we've identified, what everything does. That's the main thing. I'll go and have one more look online to see if I can find a schematic, but I don't think there is anything, so we'll whiz through it and we'll find out by trial and error. And sure enough, there's our first dead capacitor. Should be a 470 microfarad and it's 80, so yeah, good to change that one. Another bad one there, should be 220 microfarad, it's 52. Right, that was quite a job. I replaced all of the capacitors. There were some really bad ones in here, really bad, completely open circuit. Most of these, even the small capacitors there, were probably double to 3 times what they should be. They've all gone high. Yeah, so didn't really want to have to do that, but there's no point in, you know, leaving those in there. They were so bad. And everyone I take out, I test everyone I take out, and I test everyone that goes in. So it takes quite a long time to do this, because I won't put in substandard capacitors, and if they're not right, obviously I won't know. So I check each one before they go in. So there we go. So that's all done. So now we can move on to actually finding out what everything does, and we'll start off with frequency, I think. So without any tune-up, just changing the capacitors has brought the cyanide up to 0.6 of a microvolt for 12 dB cyanide, so that's superb, and it sounds much better. There's lots of crackling on it before. If you watch the video, you'll see that. So that's much nicer now. Let's drop the level down. Still about as sensitive. That's 0.1 of a microvolt. It's just got rid of some of those more distinct pops and cracks that were going on there. It's a lot cleaner, which is good, because there was obviously some real issues with those capacitors, wasn't there? Okay, then let's check the frequency. Right, it's slightly high on the frequency, so we'll put the frequency counter on, let that warm up, and we'll adjust it to suit. It's only ever so slightly high. Whilst we're waiting for the frequency counter to warm up, I'll start the TX power alignment. Now, I think it's going to be that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, and that one, with one of these possibly may well affect the harmonics. So I will check that on the spectrum analyzer and just see. So that's what I'm going to do off camera, and what I'm going to do is update the little photograph that I made of the radio, so at the end you'll be able to see exactly what we've established there, and I'll pop these stickers onto the photograph as we go. So let's see if we can get a bit more power out of this. Just check what it's doing. It's doing 3.5 watts at 0.7 of an amp, so 3.5 watts on channel 20 at 0.7 of an amp. So let's see if we can get that to improve. Let's just check low power while we're here, just see what that's doing. Yeah, low power's bang on 0.4 of a watt, which is unusual. I mean, maybe someone's been in here and adjusted that, but low power is spot on. So let's just see if we can get a bit more than 3.5 watts out. There we go, it's now doing a full 4 watts, and we'll hopefully the frequency counter will have warmed up now, so we can do the frequency adjustment. Right, I can't see that there's any adjustment for the frequency. I've had a little poke around. I think it must be fixed. It's doing 27.79146, so it's a little bit high, but it's well within spec. So that's all we can do. But if anyone does know of a way to adjust the frequency, let me know. But I certainly couldn't see any way. I haven't got a schematic, but I can't see any way that it's adjustable on here. This is the VCO, and this made no visible adjustment that I could see to the frequency. I will check if that's involved in the TX power lineup though. I'll do that, and then I'll mark that up on the drawing at the end, on the photograph, sorry, at the end of the video. Right, I've just plugged in the other mic, the audio line mic, because I think I've got to do a bit of a service on the customer mic. This is the FM deviation adjustment. I've set that now on the meter, so that's good, and it's sounding okay on the radio. We will do an audio test with Mick on the air test to check this radio out. So that is your FM deviation right there. So what do we move on to next? TX power meter adjustment, I think. Right, TX power meter, looking somewhere right in the middle of the strawberry patch, there or thereabouts. There we go, and I'll show you where the adjustment for that is. There we go, that's your adjustment for your transmit power meter. Right, okay, we got the I've turned the beep off just because it's annoying. Right, so this is the blue can, which I suspect is the detector, and there we go. So we're looking to peak this waveform. You can see there it was pretty close. We're going to peak that there. Now we should, in theory, I don't know, there should be a separate detector adjustment for the VHF, but I can't see it on here, so I don't know. We'll have a look at that. We'll do the 27 meg first, and then we'll move on to the VHF afterwards. It's more important to me to get the 27 megahertz working. Well, that's the best that we can do there. 0.64, so it's not got any better, but I have established what are all of the adjustments. I think we will confirm that. I'll just turn it down. We will confirm that on the end of the video, but we'll have just a quick little look just to see if I've got this right. But yeah, that was definitely 27 meg RX, that was RX, that was RX, that was RX. I think that might be the IF, I think, but it was certainly affecting the receive. So I think that these ones here are going to be the VHF, because you've got your 3 crystals. It's quite a lot, isn't it, for the receive side? There's not much adjustment on the 27 meg receive. We've got 1, 2, 3, really 3 cans there, and the IF I think there. So I couldn't see that these were affecting the receive at all. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that these are for the VHF side of the radio, but with the, you know, without a schematic diagram, it's really, I've really just got to really try and trial and error and see what it is. So let's move on to the VHF side of things. We'll get a lead in for that, and first off, because I think it's as good as it's going to be, we'll just set the receive meter. So we'll put 100. We'll do the squelch as well. We'll put 100 microvolt signal onto the signal generator, and then we'll just adjust the signal meter. Right, receive signal meter is that one just there. Okay, I'll just show you the adjustment on that. I think the one next to it is going to be squelch, that one there. We do need to do establish low power adjust as well. I'll do that after that. So as you can see there, our 100 microvolt signal, our meter is a little bit on the low side, so we'll bring it up to somewhere near, which I think is about there. I'll need to just lift this up so I can see. There we go, there's our RS9 signal. Okay, so for squelch I've adjusted that now, so the squelch is actually on full, and we've just got our 27791 level 100 microvolts, and we'll just lower it down. So the squelch is dropping off at 91 microvolts. As we creep up slowly, it's coming in at 99.9, it's opening. So that's what we want, that's your full scale. Let's check it on the low end. So we'll put, say, 0.8 of a microvolt in, and we'll turn the signal generator off. We'll now set the squelch to its threshold level by turning it all the way down, just on threshold, and we'll see where it comes in. We'll switch the RF on now. Okay, so it's coming in at more than 0.8. Let's see where it drops off. 0.5. There we go, under 0.5. It's coming in, so that's nice and sensitive right across the band there. So I presume, obviously there's no, I don't know if the squelch operates on the VHF, I haven't checked. We'll check that when we do the VHF. So that's the CV side of the radio done. And in the top left corner, this one down here, that is the low power adjust. So switch the radio into low power and then adjust that for 0.4 of a watt. Right, we're doing 1.66 microvolts for 12 dB synad now. This is on channel 16. So we're going to play around on the board, see if I can bring it up a little bit. Like I say, I'm not going to go too crazy, but I don't want to upset the CB side, so I need to pay attention when I'm doing this. Okay, we have improved that somewhat. It's now doing 1.26 microvolts for 12 dB synad. I can also confirm that the S meter does reflect the VHF signal. It roughly, there's no adjustment. If I adjust the VHF signal there, it'll adjust the CB side as well. So I'm just going to do a quick check on the CB side, just to make sure I haven't upset it with any of those adjustments. I don't think I have. It looks like we've ticked all the boxes on our sheet. If you've got one of these, or if you're adjusting one of these radios, this is what you're looking at here. Okay, so you can pause this, go through it, print it off, it stops just there. All fairly self-explanatory, but if you've been watching the video, you'd have picked up on all this anyway. So you know, I don't suppose there's going to be many of you adjusting these radios, because there really isn't many of these radios about. I've not seen this setup here with the IC there mounted off that little side plate. That's unusual, isn't it? I guess that's a sound card IC. I've not looked into it, but certainly on the VHF side of receive, as suspected, these two were important. Got a bit of to and fro on that, and then this one was fairly pivotal. Be careful adjusting this one. I suspect this one is the mixer, and you can get it into an oscillation if you're not careful. Probably would have been better to have done this with another signal generator actually, and adjust it for its null, which I could have done, but I just did it on the sine wave meter because I'm running short of time. I've spent so long on this already, and it is Bank Holiday Monday, so I'll be getting a scolding off the missus for carrying on playing radio today. So that is it, I think, as far as setup goes. I'm just going to check it off camera on receive, and then we'll bolt this back together, give it a little bit of a clean for Steve. We'll bolt it back together, and I haven't needed to clean any of the switches. They seem all good. I have cleaned the sockets on the back here, which were dirty, and I'll perhaps just give it a little bit of a tidy up, and then we will get hold of Mick and test. And if old Mick had a boat, then we could obviously test that, but I don't know anyone around here with a boat or any marine mobile capability, so we'll just have to take it as given that it would work. And really, we're only really interested in the CB side of this radio, to be honest. Okay, right, so hopefully in the next shot you will see it will be probably another day, probably not tomorrow, maybe midweek, Wednesday, and we'll get hold of Mick and we'll finish off this very unusual but certainly distinctive CB radio. You can see on the microphone here the real colour of what the plastic can be. Can you see there where the sun has got on it and where the sun hasn't got on it on the arm of the PTT lever there? So you can see that's the colour it should have been, like a nice creamy white colour instead of this sort of fag stained yellow colour. Right, we pop the rust prevention paint on the back of here, and that should all be nicely protected now. I'm getting rusty. I had to tighten this speaker up, all these 4 screws were loose, that must have been quite rattly. So we'll pop this back together and we'll see if we can raise Mick, and we'll do a radio check. Okay, right, I believe we have Mick on the end here. I'm with a very unusual looking Quasar MCB 400 radio at this end, Mick. It's a normal CB radio with a selection of 3 receive-only marine channels. So quite an unusual set. A cream radio, well, at least the painted surfaces are cream. The rest of it has gone rather yellow, that kind of problem that plastics have when they're out in the sunshine. So this may well have been in the cabin of a boat at some time during its life, or lodged in the sun-drenched spaces of the dashboard of a truck or something to get this kind of colour. It's very, very yellow. It looks incredibly yellow, as you'll see on the video there, Roger. I just wonder how it sounds to you.
Yeah, okay, Paul, thank you for that. It's coming through nice and loud, actually. Quite loud. And I don't think I've ever heard of one with 3 CB channels, not CB, marine channels on before, or a CB radio with marine channels on. But yeah, it sounds very good, Paul. And there's no problems with the audio at all. And I hope you're receiving me the same. Back to you.
Rod, you're sounding really nice on it. Only a small speaker on this set, which is my only criticism. It's a fairly small speaker, so it's a little bit high end at this end, but you're nonetheless nice and clear. But it certainly hasn't got the nice sort of bassy qualities of the radio that you're using there at your end. But it's still nonetheless decent. Yeah, it took a little bit of alignment. It's not a radio that I've seen anyone align on YouTube before, or even there's no website covering it. So I had to work out what everything did. But I've got all that written down now on a photograph, so I know what everything does. And it had to have a full recap. All of the capacitors were terrible. The main protection diode has gone in it. I suspect it may well have been reversed or overvolted at some point in its life, possibly. But all of the capacitors were terrible, so it's had a full recap. So I'm pleased to hear that it's sounding good with you there, Rod.
Yeah, this is bus stop returning. Yeah, it's sounding brilliant, really, really good. So you've brought another one back to life there after many years of hanging about, probably waiting for somebody like you to bring it back from the dead, sort of thing. So yes, excellent audio, good strong signal this way, so no problems at all, Paul.
Yeah, appreciate that report.
Mick, I'll send this one back to Steve. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with the radio. It's certainly a very unusual radio. I've not seen these come up very often on. There are other ones. Again, it is a 2781 set, so it's fully UK legal. There's absolutely no issues with it at all. No transmit on marine, obviously, and we're so within land here that I've not been able to pick anything up on marine channels at all with it off the rooftop aerial, but that's not to be surprised. I should think most people on barges these days use mobile phones, and as do probably a lot of people that live near the sea, although I think there is a legal requirement, isn't there, for craft to have a VHF radio. Even people that are operating small rubber dinghies, they are supposed to have VHF radios as well, aren't they? So to keep in touch with the harbour master and things like that. So yeah, I think if we were nearer the sea, then we'd probably have a bit of activity on that. It'd be good fun to test it, but it nonetheless worked okay on the signal generator, so I was pleased with that. Okay, Mick, I'll pass it back round to you for a final. Many thanks again for your help. It's always much appreciated, and it really does help to cement the fact that these radios work when you do a proper test with a human being at the other end on another radio. Mick is a couple of miles away down a hill from me at the moment, so that's a decent test, really, with all of the housing and the rest of the electrical interference that's in the way. So I'll pass it back round to you there, Mick. Thanks again, and we'll wind the video up. Cheers.
Yeah, okay, all copied and understood, so yeah, I'm only on a mag mount at this end as well, by the way. It's on top of the shed roof with a tin plate underneath it, so it seems to be working okay, and you're getting a signal from me, so that's good. And I'll have to get round and putting a proper antenna up for these TV channels, won't I? So yeah, all good. Sounds good. Brilliant job again. So back to you, Paul.
Okay there, many thanks again, and thanks if you've been watching this video right to the end. It really helps the channel if you do stick it out with us here.
If you do stick it out with us here and enjoy these videos right to the end, and then click on the like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, because again, that really does help the channel out, and it gives me more incentive to bring and show these unusual looking sets to you, and how to test and repair them as well, which is really important. So if you have been, thank you ever so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
Your husband's all right, Mrs. Brody. He's fishing. He's just got a couple of stripers. We'll bring him in for dinner. We won't be long. We haven't seen anything yet. Over out.